fine. Well, hello there. Welcome to the Okanagan Forest Channel. It looks to me like today the smoke is blowing right in my face, but that's all right. I think we'll still have a good time here. I'm going to cook some things on my deadwood stove that I think you might enjoy. Right behind me is a rhododendron bush. And one of the facts of life here in the Pacific Northwest is that when the rhododendrons are in bloom, it's time to go fishing. So what we're going to do today on the deadwood stove is we're going to cook some trout. This is an old family recipe. It's very simple. I'm just warming up my pan now. And what we're going to do, first we're going to take a fish. Now I've got to tell you the truth, I went to three or four fishing holes and got skunked at every one until I finally went to one called Costco and I was able to get these trout, and I just want to show you how we do it. First thing we do is we batter them all up with lots of flour, and this is a mixture of cornmeal and flour, and then we're going to put that in the pan. He's so big that he's almost so big that it's going to be tough keeping them all in there. And here's the other one. This is a nice trout. We put a little flour on him, put him in the pan. And of course, when you're doing this on your deadwood stove in the outdoors, you can be a little more messy than you might be if you were at home in the kitchen. I'm going to put that guy right there. I can hear that heat. And I'm going to get something to clean my hands. There we go. We're going to let those fish start cooking. And while I'm getting smoked out here, I'll check my fire in a minute. I want to tell you a story. This is a true story about fishing in the Eagle Cap Wilderness area. And it was one of the first big fishing trips I ever went on. And I was fishing for trout just like this, not quite this big. It was a long lake, and for those of you that know how to find things on a map, you can go to Long Lake in the Eagle Cap Wilderness area, and this is where this took place. And I was a young guy then, and had a fishing pole and went off to a big rock on one side of the lake, and the water was crystal clear. You could see 30-40 feet down into the lake. And I looked over to my left over here, and here came a school of trout, a whole school. Now you don't usually see a school of trout just kind of going through the water like that, but that's what was happening. And so I took my pole, and I wasn't much of a fisherman, so this is more luck than skill. And I cast it out there as the trout were coming my way, and I caught a fish. It wasn't a real big one, perfect one for a pan like this. And I can see them crackling in the pan there, so I know that we've got enough heat in the pan. And I pulled him in, flopped him, and put him on the side of the rock there, and about that time they were straight in front of me. So I cast out there again. I caught a second nice panfish. I pulled him in real quick, bopped him on the rock, and as they were continuing down the lake, I cast out a third time. And I actually caught 3 fish on that morning, and boy were they good. Probably about the best fish I've ever had. They taste delicious. Absolutely wonderful. You know, I think sometimes in our modern life here we forget that simple things are oftentimes better things. This deadwood stove is really pretty simple, but it sure is fun. And what we're cooking today is trout. You know, a deadwood stove like this would be perfect in any fish camp, because you can cook something like this and come out looking really, really nice. You can kind of see, I'll tip it up there for a minute, you can see, and you can also see that the flame it's burning really good. Let me put a little more in here, and let me tell you, I just used a little olive oil. Put a little more on, because we don't want him sticking to the pan if we can help it. Where was I? Simple things are oftentimes better. On this deadwood stove, look at those. I hope you can see that. Simple things are oftentimes better. And deadwood stove is really a simple thing. But boy, it sure will bring you a lot of pleasure. It's kind of like the cup of coffee I had in that camp. You know, Starbucks and a lot of these other fancy coffee shops make all these special coffees that you pay $3, $4, $5 for. Best cup of coffee I ever had was in that same can. And it was a cup of coffee where one of the guys I was with just threw some grounds in an old coffee can and threw the coffee can on the fire. What made that coffee so good was that it was snowing hard. And we were staying in a little bitty bisqueen or plastic lean-to. It was cold. The horses and the mules were cold. And we were thinking, were we going to get out of the wilderness? It had been snowing for several days. Boy, that cup of coffee was good. I've never had a better one since. Not at the Peninsula Hotel or the Mandarin in Hong Kong or any other place that I've ever been. So it's not always paying the big bucks. Oftentimes, it's just something that's being simple. Okay, where's this guy? I think it's probably a little bit early. But let's see if we can turn these guys just a little. Make sure they're getting plenty of oil. And I want you to look at that. Take a look. I hope you can see okay. Look at that. Trout. It's springtime. Here in the Pacific Northwest, the rhododendrons are blooming, and it's time to go fishing. I'm going to try to turn this over. I hope I don't make a laughing stock. Oh boy, look at that. That's good. Here we go. Ooh! Well, he's cooking. He's cooking really good. My daughter and I are going to have wonderful trout here today. And I want to thank you for joining us. I wanted to cook trout on this because I just wanted to show that there's one more kind of thing that you could do. You can see I've got lots of good flame coming up there. And what I did today was I put in, like in my fire starter video, I did the same thing, but then I put in some of this stuff. This is some cherry, and I just kind of threw it in. Oh no, I'm opening the top again. Somebody doesn't like that. There we go. Maybe I'll put another one in there so I know I got plenty of good heat. And right now, because that's good wood and it's dried and ready, it'll smoke a little when it started, but it won't smoke too much. Bless you. Bless you, my goodness. Well, all I can say is that if you've got a fish camp, you like trout cooked on a real wood smoke fire, the old-fashioned way, simple way, you can't beat a deadwood stove. So I want to thank you for joining us today. If I were a little more sophisticated with the camera, I would take a couple of them and show you eating the trout later, but I'm really not that swift with the camera. So you have a good day. And if you've got a recipe for cooking trout like this on a wonderful wood stove, I'd love to hear from you. And by the way, I'll be listing the specific recipe that I have for the trout that I'm cooking here on my deadwood stove. Still lots of fuel coming there. I'll list that with the video. I hope you have a wonderful spring, and if you're thinking about getting a stove where you don't have to waste any more money on propane, think about a deadwood stove. You have a nice day. Sarah, can you tell them have a nice day?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.